Welcome to Gray Areas for July 16th, 2024, episode 631. I hear myself, so we must be live. I was told we were not live.
Yeah, some people in the house are liars.
Once again, Maisie's wrong. Big surprise.
We can just go ahead and start off with Sean's marriage corner where he explains why his wife sucks.
She brought me my phone just now too, and I'm like, she sucks. She's always wrong.
Yeah, but she didn't bring you your phone quick enough.
No, and she was complaining the whole time.
The whole time you asked politely.
Yeah.
Yep.
My parents used to say, like, if you do it but you complain, it's like you didn't do it.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's not true.
I would agree with that.
Because you know how if I didn't do it, I wouldn't have done it. And that's how you know I didn't
Yeah,
do
but
it.
doing it while complaining is just as bad as not doing it.
I would say that that's the difference in those two things, is having not done it, I would not have done it, you know?
Well, she basically didn't do it. You had to yell at her to make her do it.
Yeah, but she did it. It's in my hand. I would have preferred no complaining. That's always what I say about my wife. I would prefer less complaining, but I will appreciate a job done. You know, she did her chore, and yeah, just less complain. Just less complaining in the future.
Well, you have to ask a second time. It means it wasn't done.
Since Maisie is under the bus, do you want to throw Dave under there? This is usually the part of the show when he's not on where you'll say something about him. So this is your opportunity.
Let me think. I don't think I have a lot to say about Dave right now.
Okay.
Dave's not even on your mind.
Yeah. I honestly forgot he was even on the show.
That is actually enough of its own insult, is saying you care so little about him that you have nothing to say. Because that's just indifference
you
now.
Said Dave, and I thought at first,
Who?
I was like, oh, Doug. I was like, wait, no, I don't think that's who he means. I think there is a Dave, and then it came to me. I have had a little bit of a brain fog, though, lately, so that could be why.
Well, for the viewers who were not around last week, he's on vacation still. He'll be back next week to defend his game show title. But this week, he is not here, although he said he'll tune in. This is an episode that I think he would have liked to have joined, but it's not our fault he went in California because, you know, the former president of the United States was almost assassinated over the weekend. We have been tiptoeing around the prospect of talking about some of the election lead-up. We usually do an episode talking about it. I'm not even necessarily sure if this is that, but at the very least, given the influx of social media after this entire assassination attempt over the weekend, I have some things I want to get off my chest. So we're going to lead with that, and then we'll see where else the conversation takes us.
Yeah, I have a specific angle that I want to take, and it looks like you're already heading in that way based on the title.
Yeah. There's a movie coming out, or has come out, about like faking a moon landing.
Oh, yeah, Fly Me to the Moon. Scarlett Johansson.
Is that out yet? I don't remember.
I think it just came out.
Just came
and
out
Long
Friday?
Legs beat it in the box office.
Yeah, so like, topical. When we saw the trailer for that a couple months back, I thought to myself, I don't know how much I like this. And part of the reason why is I'm kind of baffled by the fact that in the era of social media, where everybody has a camera phone, where everybody has additional ways to document what's happening, we still find the way for a select few, a special few, to come up with the dumbest conspiracy theories imaginable. And there's a lot of things we could say about what happened over the weekend with former President Trump, and we'll get to some of them in this show, I imagine. But to me, my biggest takeaway was I was amazed at how quickly people wanted to latch on to whatever excuse was convenient enough for them. And it's confusing because we have video evidence that directly contradicts almost all of it. So that was where I wanted to start. Let's go from there.
Yeah, I think Fly Me to the Moon is going to do a lot of damage. Not to anyone intelligent, but to a whole subset of people. They are going to be like, see, I told you. It's not based on a true story, but it's
That's what they want you to think.
Are you excited? Are you excited for the movie that will come out in like another 20 years about how 9/11 was fake, and that we'll have big movie stars in that as well?
Yeah,
will that do more damage?
I'm really excited for that one. So actually, Cody, you bring up a thing of like, no matter what it was, 9/11 was a big one. The moon landing, the Earth is flat. Who could forget that old classic? And immediately, this is fake. This doesn't feel right. So it's the same people I've realized who like want to tell you like, I believe in ghosts, and if you don't believe in ghosts, it's because you're not sensitive or smart or attuned enough to understand like what's around you. And these are the same people that are like, come on, pay attention. I know what it seems like, but I'm smarter than the masses, and I can see behind the veil. And clearly, the president, there's a lot of different theories. One, my favorite is it was live ammunition. It was all real, but it was planned to graze him on the ear at that exact moment.
Which, by the way, you'd be such a good marksman to graze someone's ear and not hit body
I
mass.
believe it was an AR-15, which I don't think is like the gun for like precision shooting from far away.
It's a sniper rifle,
right? You would think, yeah. So, and I looked at a like a breakdown, and it's crazy where like he turns his head, and then it clips his ear, and I actually watched one like it did like that, like a top down view of the head. And like, had he not turned at that exact moment, it's going like through the back of his head,
which I think
it's insane.
The convenience and luck of that, I think, lends itself to conspiracy theories because we're like, that's weird. Why did he know to turn? Because we confirmed that we confirm he's actually got shot in the ear and it wasn't the teleprompter's glass cutting his ear? Like, has that been cleared up at all? Because I don't know. I mean, again, the guy lies a lot, unfortunately, so it's easy to be like, oh, I got shot in the ear. I'm like, well, if you got shot in the ear, like, it probably would take a chunk of your ear off, and he's got it bandaged now at the RNC and all this, but. Whatever it might be, it's like I would like clarification if he actually did get shot or not, just for the sake of like knowing. But it doesn't really matter. I feel I don't have a lot to say on this other than the biggest problem I think we have is that one of the most notable events I guess in American history in an assassination is Kennedy's assassination is such a fucking mess in terms of what the actual truth is and shit like that. And then like the government lets on like, oh yeah, maybe this or that kind of did happen, not some magic bullet shit, but like. Yeah, this is actually kind of vaguely unclear when they actually release documents. And they're like, we don't actually totally know. The fucking problem is that lets people be like, see, that wasn't exactly as they said. And when one fucking thing goes not smoothly like that, I feel like it lends in American history in general for us all to be like extra skeptical about not believing exactly what we got told. I'm not trying to excuse people for making up crazy shit because Chris is right. There's a fuck ton more evidence here on live TV than there was when Kennedy got shot, obviously.
Yeah, that was another one I loved is the blood packet.
Yeah.
And then I especially love a guy being like, if it was real, why wasn't anyone behind the president hit? And everybody got off, like, no one was scathed. And it was like, dude. Someone died. Yeah. Someone was like what?
Yeah.
And I won't say you're stupid, but I will say you are woefully unread on this scenario.
And the whole thing's going to get investigated. And one day we're going to have a pretty clear, like, how the fuck did this possibly happen? In whatever way. Like, that's going to take a lot of time, unfortunately. And in our 24-hour news cycle, everyone basically wants an investigation of bullet trajectory and all that type of shit really quickly. It's like, well, you're not going to get that. We can kind of get some basic info of like, yeah, they didn't cover this area. Someone didn't patrol that. Someone didn't like, however all this works and what comes out of, yes, people did know he was there or someone was up there and no one listened, whatever bullshit. You're going to get some clarification.
Well, there's a report from the sniper. I think it was posted to 4chan. So that's how you know it's legit.
Yep. Of course.
And he said like, he was in my sights for, at one point I saw 1 minute, then another report's 3 minutes. And I was ordered not to take the shot until he took the shot. So there's a lot of that going on.
I'll tell you, that's a bad policy, by the way. Just in case, if you see someone aiming a gun at someone, just through the whole terms of the good guys have the guns, blah, blah.
Right, which is why none of this is true.
Exactly.
Right?
Just if that was even true in any way, but boy, that's a bad policy to have when a man running for president is in the crosshairs of someone and you didn't take out the guy who's going to shoot him.
Well, that's because it's Biden's man on the inside.
That's true.
Or it's, again, another one of my favorites, it's actually Trump's man. And Trump was doing this to generate sympathy to boost his platform.
Here's the thing. Well, that's obviously not true. I also wouldn't be shocked for Trump to embellish something, just very bluntly, to get votes. I mean, he is the guy who said he could shoot somebody and still get elected president. So, unfortunately, we've had so much bullshit and lies. It also lends modern day things to lead to insane conspiracy theories because so much insane-ish shit has actually been tangibly, like, I mean, it's not like it's hidden. It's been true. He said crazy shit. So, I mean, again, that's mostly all I have to say on it is just I'm not surprised people are going to have this crazy shit going on. And also, the media right now doesn't know how to fucking cover an assassination attempt because we haven't had one since what? Is it Reagan's the most recent besides this, I'm assuming?
Pretty much, because we don't count shoes being thrown at Bush as an assassination attempt.
So, we're so many decades away from the last time someone got shot at that was prominent like this in our own country that this just it was in the 80s, so, Twitter didn't exist and 24-hour news cycles didn't exist. it's like, oh, they have no idea what the fuck they're in for of trying to actually analyze this and make it seem not fucking crazy when really you have basically about an hour's worth of a telecast of information, and then you're probably done as of right now for what you tangibly have that's true.
But you got to fill a news cycle. And to me, I guess I don't understand, because when the news first broke, I was surprised. It was kind of hard to believe. I think in the seconds or minutes that follow, it's understandable if your brain goes in a bunch of different directions as you're trying to process and figure it out. Like, could it have been a plant? Could it have been staged? Could it have been this whole thing? Because, Trump is certainly big on theatrics, and he's got this iconic image of him now with his fist up in the air, and something that I don't think was staged, but just because he has such a good feel for the moment. You can say what you want about him and his politics, but, like, he understands television. So, like, I understand seconds or minutes being like, wow, is this, is it that? It's the hours that followed that I was especially confused by, because to me, it's so much easier to explain this away with incompetence than it is vast conspiracy. There are a lot of idiots in the world and much fewer smart people. And so when I'm faced with something that's difficult to understand or complicated, my reaction is to think, who fucked up? And very quickly, in the aftermath of the shooting, we found out that probably the Secret Service fucked up. Pending investigation, we'll get more details, but we have damning video from multiple different cell phones of just like people in the crowd. There's a whole other smaller crowd, a subset of people on the side, watching this dude kind of slither around the roof and climb up on top and get his bearings and line up a shot, and people being like, I don't think he should be up there. And you can hear very faintly in the background the moments of the speech right before the shot happens. So there's about 2.5 to 3 minutes of time there.
Yep.
So, like, that to me would be the more compelling argument in all this. And then that's, of course, where people are going to go, yeah, it was Biden putting in weak Secret Service people. It was Trump putting in weak Secret Service people. Or my personal favorite, it was a DEI hire that led to someone being incompetent on the Secret Service that fucked this up.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one, too. That's why we don't let women be on the Secret Service is one that I heard.
Because this is a white woman, so it's not a minority, so we can't target it as much, but it's still a woman, so it's probably an inclusion hire and not just somebody who earned their job.
Yeah, so that was bad. I saw a video of some of them on the ground really not doing very good. One of them was taking cover behind the president. Which I know, like, I fucking get it. It's, we just talked about this. Has not happened in a long time. So maybe you're not practiced up. But I feel like if you're the Secret Service taking cover behind the president, maybe is not the best thing to do. Maybe you should kind of be trying to be the one. I should say former president, not the president. But a whole lot of incompetence all around the board. They let him pump his fist, which I hate to say was a very cool moment, unfortunately. But I also think, like, if you're the Secret Service, maybe just, like, get him out of there. I think he was like, wait. And they were like, okay, yeah, he's probably going to shoot again, right? And like, what are you guys doing? What are any of you doing?
There could be another person shooting, too. It
Yeah,
could
yeah,
be,
totally.
Like, in that moment, you really don't know if there's more than one.
Never assume, it's over. Yeah,
if it was that easy to have one, that'd be easy to have two.
So this always, with everything, goes back to my, like, Occam's razor. Is it easier to believe to these people that the whole thing was fucking staged, or that some people just were not maybe good at their jobs and fucked up? Mixed with some crazy person who I guess is a registered Republican, a MAGA guy. Like, that's also confusing to me.
Yeah, I mean, people whine about them. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, he donated $15 to some cause in 2021, which then doesn't even correlate with how old he was. None of that shit even matters. Like, someone shot at the former president. Like, and again, I don't like Trump at all. Like, we can be very clear, but like, someone shot at the fucking former president. I mean, I guess everyone needs to politicize it and be like, well, was it a Democrat or was it a Republican?
Yeah.
Who was trying to take him out? I'm like, someone tried to shoot him because our fucking political climate, like, while Chris says he wasn't surprised or was surprised, I'm not surprised in the slightest. I've been waiting and expecting something fucking horrible like this to happen because the anger and hatred just keeps building up and building up and building up. I'm like, like, guns and all this shit's easy to get. Like, someone's going to take a shot at somebody. Yeah. We already had whatever it was when they claimed that they stopped an assassination attempt. I can't remember which one it was, however many years ago. It was in Colorado or something like that, where like, oh, we have pulled over this car that had like 2 people or 3 people with like an arsenal of guns or something like that. I don't remember which campaign or whatever it was, but I'm like, we're getting closer to shit like this happening, unfortunately. I'm actually shocked that it happened so much in our history for a long time. And while I get the security and all this, and like, creeping on all of us and finding out what we're doing online has become easier to spy on, getting a gun is like the easiest thing in the world to just walk into a store one day and grab it, regardless of how. If you have a death wish, it's not that complicated, unfortunately. Yeah. Which sounds really fucked up. I know.
1 in 4 guns now manufactured are AR-15s. Which is
horrifying,
crazy.
just horrifying.
And the bullets, like, so everybody's like, you don't take away our guns; they're used for hunting, and like, but they're not, because the bullets fucking destroy whatever human or animal you shoot them into.
Are you sure you don't want a deer that's been like cooked by the bullets that ripped through it?
Don't you maybe want some metal shards?
Yeah,
in your
that sounds good.
Yeah, I know. So the whole thing is crazy, and yeah, I don't talk about the political alignment of the shooter like for anything other than like it just I think adds to the
weirdness.
Overall confusion.
Yeah.
And people were using that as a quick way to point fingers. Let's just be very honest.
Exactly.
Because if it had been a diehard Republican, the Democrats could point at that and go, see, it's your own guy who supported him but turned on him and gun control this and all that. And if it was a Democrat, of course, from the right, the same conversation would have been, you just hate this man so much. There's so much vitriol. The media caused all this. Jaguar's point about Alex Jones is an informative one to me that I was thinking about this week, because we've recognized, at least to a certain extent, the danger of just peddling misinformation. Alex Jones was hit with a nearly $1 billion settlement for basically saying that there were paid actors in a school shooting that killed children. And you know what? Fucking good. If that's the level that it's going to take, now it took years and multiple lawsuits to finally get to a point where there was this huge, massive judgment levied against him. I was hoping maybe that would be a step in the right direction. Of course, the problem with when you get in the conspiracy theory rabbit hole is that it's very difficult to escape, because they're just silencing Alex Jones because they weren't prepared for what he was believing in. They didn't understand. They're part of the deep state cover-up, blah, blah, blah. So I guess this is a fool's errand. We're talking to an audience that has followed us for a long time, who obviously is not stupid and does not peddle in conspiracy theories. But still, this week, I don't know. Something about this one just hit differently in the aftermath, because I'm like, maybe it's because the stakes are so high with this. I'm not saying it wasn't with Alex Jones. I just mean, like, it's fine when it's ghosts. It's fine when it's, the moon landing. When it involves actual lives, I don't find it to be funny in the slightest.
Yeah, and what's weird to me, too, is the Venn diagram, I think I'm safe in saying this, of crazy conspiracy theorists and right-wing Republicans. There's like a bit of an overlap. And so what do you do when it's like your presidential candidate who, I guess you're the one, you're accusing him of doing the conspiracy? It's just like, it's all weird. I don't know what to make of like any of it. It's just crazy. Because
it's bizarre. I mean, like it's just
crazy, yeah.
Because it's just bizarre at every angle of like, well, the easiest answer is it might be a registered Republican, but I mean, you don't have to like the guy who's running for president in your party. In fact, if you thought, if I shoot him right before the RNC, then maybe we'll have a different presidential candidate. I'm not, like, that line of logic tracks in a fucked up way.
Right. But
to where it's like, it might be the easiest, simplest answer is he just is a Republican and doesn't like the guy in his party. And
But then to hear on Reddit or whatever, like, oh, I feel like he ducked, put a blood packet on, and then stood up, then Trump is complicit. And so as a right-wing person, you're saying that your God emperor is now like tricking you, and what does that mean? How does that affect you?
But is it them saying that he's tricking them, or that he's just so fucking smart? He knew that if he staged a shooting like this, he would generate more support. Like, I mean, is that like the actual angle that they're also taking?
That's fair, but I think the majority of what I saw, and this is anecdotal, right? I can't sample everybody. It was a negative.
Okay.
I don't like being tricked. We all gotta wake up. And you're like, what do you mean wake up? This is your guy. What are you talking about? Yeah. And like, so my immediate ramification, my immediate thought of consequences are, well, now he's going to win the election because now he has all this like sympathy. He's a survivor. He had the cool whatever. And like, I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe everybody they smell something fishy because they're crazy.
I mean, the Democrats are doing that for him anyways. He can galvanize some base here and rev everything up, and he's named his VP and he can build on this little cycle. It's also July. If this was like September or October, I'd be like, yeah, man, if this happened right before the election, I admit I would be like, boy, that's really fucking weird for it to go down the way it did.
Yeah.
This early, like, I don't know. I'm just going to say from a crazy person standpoint, I don't think you're actually building very well this early. Like, I do think he's sure the people that are going to vote for him are going to vote for him even harder. I mean, like, is it going to the votes going to count 1.2 votes instead of 1?
I mean, there's very little times where there are undecided voters going into an election. There are always some, sure, but we're talking like sub 10%, like single digits. In this particular case, because it's an incumbent returning and a previous president, their bases are already well established. This is not a new political face. This is not some like up-and-comer who, well, they're running this time, but this is just to get experience for the next time. These are two established, known commodities. Maybe things have changed about them since 4 years ago or 8 years ago, but they're known commodities. So I'm like, I did see a lot of that in the aftermath as well. Like, oh, that was such a badass moment. Now people are going to support him more than ever. And I'm like, who does this move the needle for? Maybe some people who were on the fence. There are obviously some Republicans that are like, God, I don't know about this. And obviously there are some Democrats who are very much concerned about Joe Biden and his rapid descent into aging.
That would be the one that I would
But
say.
enough to have them vote for Trump? I mean, people have a lot of concerns about Joe Biden, but is the really hardcore Democratic base going to be like, well, he's old, so I'm going to vote for Trump? No, they're going to vote third party. They're not going to vote for the race at all. Yeah. Like, they're not going to vote for Trump just because he had his fist up in the air in a cool moment. So that was their immediate reaction. Like, well, that's it. Donald Trump won the election. And I'm like, I think this helps him on some very small level, but I don't think it fundamentally changes the race.
I hope you're right. I think you're probably right. But I am cognizant of I watched this old thing about Bill Clinton versus H.W. fucking Bush, and they were like, the moment he won the election was when there was like a woman. It was during one of the debates. Now, granted, that means it was later in the cycle, and he just came off as so personable, and that's how he won the entire thing. All the people in the middle on the fence, they all went Clinton. I was like, wow, that seems like oversimplifying things a lot. But I don't know. I worry that people, short attention spans and all of that. But Cody, like you said, this is happening now and not much later in the year. So maybe people have forgotten or returned to their...
Yeah. Do you have any idea how much more insane bullshit we're going to go through until November?
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of crazy bullshit. I do look forward to, because I could joke about this now, I guess, where were you leaning before Trump almost got assassinated, and where were you leaning after exit poll? I can't wait for that, because someone's going to fucking do it, and it's going to be the funniest shit if that wacko guy on MSNBC or whatever is scribbling on the board saying post or pre-assassination attempt and post-assassination attempt of some fucking sort. I'm like, I feel like you're actually going to do some exit poll shit with that, and they're going to try and see if there's any number correlating to this.
Well, yeah.
So maybe you'll be proven right later on.
How do we feel, though, about like the people like making jokes and stuff? Because I think I've said some heated stuff on the show before. I think I said like kill everybody in some subset of like that does my pet peeve, like they should all die. I was really like somebody taking all of this, the election and the polarization of the parties, like into their own hands and trying to kill someone. And it's just like, it's just so obvious, but it's just so abhorrent to me. It makes me so angry, and I don't like Trump at all. But like somebody making that call and feeling like I'm just gonna take him out, like it like angers me to my core. I don't know.
It also just doesn't shock me because the dude's talked about wanting to imprison his political opponent. So when like I get that's not murder or anything like that, but when this dude's like, I mean, the guy has not done himself any favors with the way he speaks and his rhetoric and all the shit we've talked about for years that some people love, some people hate. That's why it's all divisive. I'm just not that surprised. People are like, yeah, well, he borderline deserved it. And it's like, well, yeah, the guy's talked a bunch of shit and been really awful to a giant subset of people. So I'm not really surprised that that's where people go. I think it's pretty shitty to say anyone should die here, borderline, other than like death penalty. Like you did a crime that you probably should be put to death for. Like that's really the only time I think it's like, yeah, maybe we talk about someone having to die for that, and it's the death penalty level of that, which is not really anything he's done yet. Past anything in a U.S. president's done where they've killed a bunch of innocent people, and every U.S. president is fucking guilty of all that shit. So that's not even going to work here.
Well, I was going to say, like, nobody deserves to like be killed over a political division.
Exactly.
Or deserves to be killed. And Maze was like, "What about child rapists?" And I was like,
"Yeah, you got you.
Well, okay, yes, of course, fine, but like, I'm talking like political candidates."
That depends on where you
Honey.
fall on capital punishment.
And then we get in a whole other
and
debate.
I don't know that Trump's crimes of maybe the document stuff or hush money. I don't know that that's raised to the level of capital punishment in any way.
Yeah, I think to address the joking thing, I saw a lot of it on Twitter, obviously, after the fact as well. I think for some, it was clout chasing, and for some, it was coping. I think a very natural response to something that is shocking is to try and make light of it because you're just figuring it out. You have no idea what happened. So you're just trying to figure out what's going on. We saw plenty of WWE references. I'm sure Cody got them as well because we probably have some of the same circles on Twitter about like basically the equivalent of a blood packet is blading in wrestling, where you just like sneak a razor blade on your forehead. So, oh God, it's a crimson mask, right? So like, since Donald Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer, which is a very strange sentence, that was some of the jokes. Like he faked it. It wasn't even a real shot. He went down. Obviously, within a couple hours, it quickly became clear when the other person was dead. It was not a fake shot. It was not staged. But for that 2-hour window, I at least understood it because nobody really knew what had happened, and they were just trying to make sense of it. The jokes the next day felt mean-spirited to me, especially in light of the fact that someone had been killed.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm like, people can still process at their own speed. I'm not saying everybody just finishes getting over it within a day. But at that point, I'm like, this is no longer a joke anymore. This is more malicious to me. Because I'll tell you the most surprising thing to me, seeing the pictures of him, obviously there's the iconic one we mentioned with the fist up in the air, the American flag, and all that jazz. Great photo. To me, I felt an unexpected tinge of sadness with the photos right before that as he's getting up, as after the Secret Service has like tackled him and surrounded him. As he's getting up, he looks confused, bewildered, and it made me feel sad. And I was not expecting that because I'm not certainly rooting for Trump to get killed by any means. Like we've already said, like that's established. I didn't expect to feel sympathy for him, but I'm like, this is a horrible fucking situation and one that shouldn't happen in America.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think, Chris, that's a good point. Also in clarifying, like, I think, yeah, we're human. You can make a joke. I saw an anime in the style of Jojo Rabbit where he catches the bullet and it's insane. I think the sentiment of like, oh man, I wish he didn't miss, and like, so maybe joking was the wrong term. Maybe just like the sort of, like you said,
cheerleading,
mean spirited. Yeah, that's what I was like. Okay, come on, guys. Like, who are we? Like, let's be better than that. But I saw that photo. And I believe I read an article about like the German, a lot of foreign newspapers are using that photo, and a lot of the American papers are using the triumphant one, which I think is just very interesting.
Well, I want to circle back to something real quick since I've been sitting on this for like 10 minutes, so sorry, Peter. But it's wild that some of the rally immediately turned around and started screaming at the media, since you just mentioned the media part of this. Hi, Peter, the media here. Cody is also the media. Sean has been the media. We are also, none of us, of course, the media. And I know he's not talking to us directly, but still, as somebody who works with this on a daily basis, let me tell you, I'm sick of that approach real fucking big. Real tired of that approach. And here's why. Obviously, when people talk about the media, it's usually television media, specifically Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Newsmax. The main offenders, right? We get that at a base level. Our little tiny small town newspaper is not really the media, but we still get lumped in with the criticism. To me, the main people that are supporting that idea, that the media fomented this undercurrent of rage, are fucking ridiculous. And let me give you just one example from someone who could only be described as ridiculous, and that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is talking about how this has all been incited by Joe Biden and his rhetoric, when she still has on her Twitter page from 2 years ago a video of her with an assault rifle talking about blowing up the Democratic platform with the most violent imagery you can almost imagine, short of actually shooting someone with it. So the hypocrisy that was revealed by this, and this is not just limited to the Republican side either, to be very clear, was the most staggering to me, because the Democrats have also been doing the same thing with like, oh, Joe Biden's fine. He's good in the morning. Like he just had a cold. It's like, we all, just like the video of the assassination attempt, we all have the video of Biden having so many different gaffes in the last couple months, let alone the last few years, that it's like, you cannot expect us to believe that. We have the video. We can see that you're fucking lying.
Yeah. He's just freezing for 30 seconds because he's thinking. and he's about to deliver a one-liner. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think the one last thing on Trump stuff is, and it kind of ties into what you two have both said and what Chagrock referenced about Alex Jones, is some of the people on the Democratic liberal side are borderline cheerleading this in the same manner that Alex Jones's followers are like disingenuous about kids dying. Like, oh, well, because it's shitty to be like, yeah, well, those kids didn't actually die. Well, they fucking did, and their families like lost their fucking children. So shut the fuck up about it. And then people on the flip side, like, they don't like that. They don't like that, you're talking shit or you're wishing someone, they're wishing, like, saying people didn't die when they did. And I feel like wishing someone to have been shot dead in cold blood on national television is somewhat of the same fucking mentality. And it seems a little shitty to criticize Alex Jones and all the conspiracy theorists for their lack of tact and, understanding of a tragedy, to then also kind of borderline cheerlead for a similar tragedy to have happened. Now, granted, there's a different level of innocent children, Trump, blah, 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 all that I'm not going to get into. But I think the idea, like what you said, of just like, really, we're going to go about this and you're going to be like kind of hypocritical with your approach to all of this shit now?
Yeah. Well, I love the President Biden. Do you realize that you said we need to put Trump in the bullseye? And Biden was like, yeah, like I didn't mean to kill him or whatever, but he talked, he took 3 minutes to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to shift to that part of this.
Like,
now,
I didn't mean literally kill a guy. Look, anyway, it's all bad. So I saw a lot of people being like, is Trump now going to come down on guns? It's going to be really interesting. The answer is no.
It's just fucked now.
Now, if there was any chance he's going to do it, it's going to be after the election, because part of the reason, you can say he's spineless or whatever. Apparently, Cody, the gun industry, I don't know if you've heard this, they run everything. And
is the NRA powerful?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
So there was a guy. So I was listening to NPR, and there's a whole thing on AR-15s. That's why I'm like, have so much knowledge. Have you ever heard of Zumbo? Have you ever heard the phrase "somebody was zumboed"? I thought maybe you.
I don't think I want to know.
Okay, so there was a gun enthusiast, popular. He had a magazine. He had a column. He was like everywhere. He had a TV show. He came on and said like, "Hey, I don't think AR-15s are like good for hunting. Like they're great guns, but like just don't use them for hunting because you're gonna obliterate." He was canceled off of every single thing. And so in the parlance now is like, don't get zumboed. And they have so much power, they will absolutely come down on you. Even if what you're saying is like not against guns. It's just like a review of guns and what they're good and maybe not good for. It's like, it doesn't matter. You will be canceled. So
all guns
Trump
are good, Sean.
Now gonna come out and speak against guns? No way before the election. Maybe after, but no, I don't think so.
I actually would be fascinated with Trump's cult of personality that he has following him, that if he actually said guns are bad, would X number of people be like, yeah, guns are bad? I'm like, could that actually fucking work? I would be fucking fascinated.
I think they're so fervent.
And not even guns. AR-15s shouldn't be for public consumption. Use a hunting rifle to go hunting. I would be fucking fascinated if that was like actually a thing and what would happen.
I know we're going to find out.
We're never going to fucking find out, but I would love that alternate timeline to just adventure into it.
Small litmus test version of it with abortion. When the total ban started to get pushed by a pretty small subset of the Republican Party, and they quickly found out how massively unpopular that was. So now you have people who you would consider to be pretty far right, like Trump and Carrie Lake, going, okay, whoa. I mean, we're against abortions, but like not all abortions. We're not saying a 10-year-old girl has to carry a rape baby to term. And it's like, wow, first of all, how brave of you to take that platform. The bar is set so fucking low. But also, like, we finally found something where they could go, okay, like, that's too much. And then their followers went, okay, that's too much. Now, guns are maybe the most powder keg topic that you could come up with, even maybe more so than abortion, just because it's like entrenched in the Republican ideology. So it's maybe different. But I do feel like because of that cult of personality Cody mentioned, that if somebody could get the main part of the base to waver, it would be Trump. I
would love to see it. I don't think he's going to take it upon himself, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually literally what I was just going to say, is like, Trump's the one who banned the bump stock thing for a while, and they undid, the current Congress undid that, and like, Trump's savvy enough to understand that there's certain ways he can actually get independents and midline people to fucking vote for him if he does little droplets of things. I mean, he also, like, I guess it's not the same level as guns. He also, during the pandemic, paused the student loan repayment for fucking ever, and it actually helped a fuck ton of people. God forbid I say anything positive, but it did. It actually absolutely helped a bunch of people. Then the Republican Congress was like, yeah, no, fuck that. We're not going to keep doing that anymore, when he was no longer in office and when Biden's been in office, which helped Biden look bad, by the way, because that didn't continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To Jason's point, by the way, he mentions, like, if presented with something like that from Trump, that people would then just go, oh, that's not really what he means. Because they'll do that with the reverse, right? That when he does say something that is out there, they'll go, oh, he was just being sarcastic. That's just his sense of humor. So they could also apply that same logic to then, if he did change stances on guns, then it's like, oh, he doesn't really mean that. We know the real Trump, which then goes full circle with the conspiracy stuff that we mentioned at the start. To your point, by the way, it's interesting because Trump was good for the economy. You can argue about any number of other social problems that he caused, especially for certain subsets of minorities and underprivileged people. I'm not going to sit here and argue that Trump was good for everything in America by any means, but the economy was better under him, as it should be, right? With his background, it almost has to be. Because now when you watch Biden's campaign trying to flip numbers around, oh, look at this unemployment and this and that, it's like everyday Americans don't care. Everyday Americans are looking at the situation in front of them and going, inflation's out of control. Wage growth doesn't match the pace of inflation. Cost of living's rising in a lot of places, not even just like Flagstaff here. So when you tell people a lie, because nobody cares about the stock market. Sure, a lot of people are contributing to 401ks. They indirectly benefit. But like 10% of Americans would actually care about the stock market setting new record highs. What does it feel like for the people just trying to live paycheck to paycheck?
Right.
And the answer in the last 4 years under Biden has been bad. So all of it, again, is just like, don't tell me something that I know isn't true. Stop wasting my fucking time with things that I can see in front of me that are not true.
And to like circle back to everything, and now we're getting into territory that I want to be careful because I don't know as much about this, but I have heard stuff about this Project 2025. And then I've heard it is not true. Like all the stuff that we're hearing, the scary stuff about what Trump's going to do, it's like it's overblown or it's left wing just trying to scare everybody. Like, I don't know if you guys know any more on that than I do, but it's like it's the same thing. It's true that we see happening that we're talking about, but like I guess on both sides, like everybody's just trying to scare the other side by lying about everything. But I don't know. Maybe Project 2025 is true. Do you know, Cody? Have you heard about this?
I have seen it in passing, but I mean, this sounds really shitty of me as an American. I don't fucking believe anything.
Right.
I don't believe anything that happens. I'm so disillusioned with campaigning and this shit that we're so far gone from 5 Republican candidates talking about, well, at what % would you tax blank over and over again, like an actual debate, to where now our debates are, would you actually concede the election? Would you jail your opponent? Those are basically the questions we get at debates now.
Would you? Who would win in a golf match?
Yeah. How many more bombs would you let Israel drop on Palestine? How many more weapons would you give Ukraine? Those are basically the questions we ask now. And so I don't fucking believe any of it. Again, I feel like I've been like borderline like threatened to where I need to vote for Biden or else my country's going to go to shit and the Supreme Court this or that and this crap. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of threatened me with all that crap before, and then you blame me. Then you blame me as a voter at the midterms that we didn't flip Congress or this and that crap, as if I have any power over the other states and what the fuck they do. So I'm really just tired about getting bitched at when it comes to like how to vote and this and that. Because again, this is a fucking hot take. The best fucking thing that's ever happened to the goddamn Democratic Party was Donald Trump being so scary and terrible that they could just tell you, we can have a dog shit candidate who can't remember anything, but you have to vote for us no matter what, so we can keep everything actually just as it is. We won't actually do anything or fix it, but you have to vote for us so it doesn't get worse.
Yeah.
It's holding me hostage and terror. It's fucking borderline terrorism in my opinion. I'm not fucking kidding when I say that.
Yeah.
Because I'm fucking tired of it over the past 8 years.
They did I heard a clip. I actually heard this clip on NPR and Republican radio, if you can believe this. And it's all the people, sound bites, saying if Trump gets elected, it's the end of democracy.
Exactly.
That phrase, the end of democracy. And I don't like Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not going to vote for. I don't like the guy. In what way is it going to be the end of? Explain to me how it's going to be the end of democracy when he already.
Yeah.
Like they're treating this like he is about to get a third term.
Yeah. I think they worry that you see January 6th when he left office the first time, and you're like, all right, well, if it happens again, what is he going to actually do? And he's been had these charges. And Biden, I'm like, does he actually start to follow through with some of the crazy ass threats and shit things he says? I actually wouldn't be all that shocked if some of that is legitimately true. I just really wish that wasn't the only thing I got threatened with to convince me to vote for the other party over and over again. I mean, I don't know that it would be great for a big chunk of people. As Chris already said, those people might be in even a worse situation. Then we're going to pardon everybody. And then basically we're going to learn that you can run and storm in the Capitol in everyone's offices and really there's no punishment. And it doesn't really matter anymore. And I get people are worried about democracy and voting necessarily ending, but the organized structure of society might continue to crumble. But I'm going to be frank, it's going to crumble anyway. So it's fine. Whether it's 4 years from now, whether it's 16 years from now, I don't know that this country's going to look the same in another 20 years.
You just hit it on the head, though. Like, the platform these days is look how much we hate the other opponent. Look how much Biden sucks. Like, well, what are Republicans going to do? I don't know, but it's better than this guy, Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
And then obviously vice versa.
The argument I just said that Democrats use against Trump, the same shit happens on the Republican side against Biden.
Okay, they're both doing it to each other.
It's going the same way.
Do you guys actually have a platform, or is it just attacking each other?
No, again, and
that's it.
Like the days of like Obama. I mean, Obama and Romney's campaigns. Like that's the last time we had like a borderline normal-ish campaign, I guess. Am I mistaken if I'm thinking that that's the one?
And the cordiality they displayed each other at the start of those debates was confusing to look at in 2024.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, oh yeah, how's your wife doing? Oh, pretty good. And they got into each other a little bit in the debate still. Like they're still going to have moments, but like there was just a certain professionalism that we don't see in today's political climate.
Which Mitt, I think, has carried on while being a senator. I mean, like, you look at him being a senator, he's kind of pointed out some of the things the Republican Party does is a little
because
insane.
He's done that, he's persona non grata.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think some of that is just where we've come as a country.
Yes, 100%.
But I do think the next election that we have where Trump is not involved, I think and I hope it's going to come down a few notches again. I don't think it's going to be so heated because he himself does invite some of it.
Well,
now,
Sean,
I could be wrong, but
will a Republican Congress and a Republican Supreme Court and a Republican president not get rid of term limits? I'm just asking questions here.
Sure.
I'm being a smartass.
Yeah.
And also,
but that's what people are fearful of, is with complete control on one side.
I think what's been the most telling to me about this was like the assassination attempt to me was weird just because I guess the timing is what Cody mentioned, which is the Republican convention coming up. So if you're going to replace him, I guess now's the time. If you're trying to think through a reason why you would shoot Trump.
Yeah, it's hard to get in the brain of, but
the problem I have with that is that he's already made his mark on the Republican Party. You know, the MAGA movement's been in session for 8 years now. And its tendrils have reached throughout the rest of the Republican Party to the point where now, I mean, again, I mentioned Carrie Lake earlier. She's just one example, but there's a lot of other people mimicking the Trump playbook, which is just go on the offensive, say outlandish stuff, get called on it, and don't care because that blueprint worked. Will it continue to work? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's my hope.
Will the next candidate not be as bad as Trump? I mean, it depends on who it is, but there's a good chance it's going to be somebody who follows that same playbook because the Republicans go, well, this worked in the past, so we're going to try it again. And then Democrats go, well, we had to fight this before, so let's fight it the same way again. And I'm not really looking forward to that prospect one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like I said, 20 years from now, our country's just going to be a shell of what it is currently in its form, so it's fine.
Where did I read something about the age of our country is now at the average age when empires collapse?
It is. That's where a lot of my like half bullshitting right now comes from. Is I've actually read it. Like that's what I've like started to read more and more of. Like, oh yeah, you know, like it's kind of unprecedented in this day and age that a country, without really tweaking itself. I mean, like the last state we've added is X amount of years ago, and things like that. It's like, wow, it doesn't really hold up without some pretty drastic changes. But it's like, well, we're the U.S. and we're the best country ever, so it'll never happen to us. It's like, yeah, I think some empires told themselves that too, but that's besides the point.
You've had people questioning this for a long time. Why are there 2 senators from every state when the population is so disproportionate? Obviously, the House of Representatives aligns with that differently, but even so, it's not the same. Electoral college, similar problem. Why does certain states have such a profound impact on what happens in the final solution when it's not just the popular vote? But even more than that, I think people are just starting to question, like, I don't want to come on as an anti-constitutionalist here, okay? So I want to be very clear because I run a newspaper. I don't want somebody soundbiting this and making me get fired. The fact that we're still treating a document from 1776 as absolute gospel in some people's minds is so ludicrous to me, especially the Second Amendment in particular. I'm not even like an anti-gun person. I'm not saying take all the guns. I'm not saying any of that. Just it was a very different world in 1776, which we've addressed with, dozens of constitutional amendments. But even so, this document doesn't reflect present-day America in most ways. I'm not saying the Constitution's useless or not important. Not saying any of that. But again, the fact that it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do all this stuff. We still have, I don't know, like 85% old white dudes in most of these positions of power, and it doesn't reflect the population of America in any way whatsoever. I think a lot of people are feeling disillusioned. The problem is there's nowhere for them to put that energy. There is no viable third party. And people who say, well, the only way to get there is to start. It's like, I guess, but you're going to have to do that for decades to have a candidate actually have a chance of winning. So I don't know what to tell people who are disillusioned. That's the hard part for me. There's all sorts of reasons to be as disillusioned as ever right now. But then what do you do? Because if you vote for a third-party candidate, then that's a vote not for one of the two who could actually win, which then is going to vote for policies that you may not be a fan of.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answer for you.
I couldn't have said that any better, so I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. I mean, that's where. So, I mean, do I think that's going to happen? Probably. I think the average age. I think with the way that everything is now, with the way that we're built, with the idea of almost like deterrence, like with nuclear deterrence, the same idea, the inertia of things. Do we really want to collapse this? And I think most people are going to kind of fall in line and make sure that doesn't happen. But like you said, I'm sure in history, people said that about the Roman Empire.
I mean, look, the country tried it once.
Yeah.
We already had one civil war. We could have another one. They made a movie about it recently.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They're historically accurate.
Yes. I mean, they made a movie pointing out what happens if we had a modern day civil war. Go check it out. It was really important for what's going on.
So, yeah, I mean, all of that, I don't know. I think it's just hard. The other thing you really battle with is this, and unfortunately it is on the right more, but like the uneducated versus the educated, and it ties back to why we can believe something despite all the photo evidence. It's just crazy. Like, it's like anti-science movement. If I cannot see it in front of me, I will not believe it. And, it's getting to the point where, like, most people are never going to look through a microscope at an electron. So are we going to get to the point where, like, yeah, we don't believe in those, like, particles? Like, that's all fake. That's just, like, science. That's all made up. Same reason why the Earth is flat. And
Are you going to not believe that oxygen's real?
Right.
Yeah.
Or gravity, or that, we've been heliocentric for a few centuries now, but maybe it's time to re-examine that one.
Yeah, right. But then it's like, what's worse almost than being uneducated is being like stubbornly uneducated and like refusing to embark on any of these things that could very easily change your mind. Like you close your ears to the world and you're just like indignant, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And how do you fix that?
I don't know, because to make this a much less worthwhile example, but a clear one, remember that game with the Lakers and the Celtics where LeBron got fouled at the end and he like rolled around on the floor like a baby?
Yeah.
But he absolutely got fouled, right? Nobody in their right mind after the fact looked at that, because there's a clear replay of his arm just being smashed as he's going up for that layup. Like, it's clearly a foul. Despite that, there were still people after the fact being like, nah, it wasn't a foul.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you mean it's not a foul? Like, I don't like the Lakers. Fuck the Lakers. Of course, fuck the Lakers. But I'm looking at that and I'm like, yeah, no, he got fouled. That was the wrong call. But you have people who will just pick a side and just argue it for the sake of arguing. There is no other reason for it. And it's befuddling because, as you said, what's top of the screen, it's right there. It wasn't like this was a game in the 1980s where you saw it once on TV and then it was gone. And maybe there was one photo of it in the newspaper the next day.
Yeah.
But you didn't have a way to see it. We could see the replay from every angle, and it's like foul, foul, foul. And people go, I don't know. It might not have been a foul.
But I think you're right. I think it is like troll culture. And it was born from this digital age where people are like, I'm just going to go on because I like kicking the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
And that's where we're getting a lot of this discourse from. And
it's so easy now to put yourself in an echo chamber and find common interests, which are bullshit interests most of the time, and you just get reinforced with your crazy shit where you're like, yeah, I believe this wacko shit. You're like, yeah, man, in fact, I heard this part of it to back up your bullshit claim. You can go online, you can find, message boards, whatever this shit is we've had for years and years now. You can just make yourself insular. To not need new ideas, to not go speak to people in person, to not meet new people, find this shit out. And that's why my opinions and views have changed. met more people as I moved from where I was in California to Arizona, and you meet people who have different experiences, are different from you, and you're like, oh shit, I never thought about it that way because I'm not you, which is, really blunt and easy to say as a white man who has different experiences than, every other person who isn't a white man could possibly have. And it's like, but if you just put yourself in being insular and hang out with your same little people and your same little group who have all the same ideas, who want to just follow this shit blindly, yeah, you're never going to be introduced to being like, oh yeah, maybe I hadn't thought about that this way. And that goes for so many different social issues.
Yeah, and there's groups for everything. Yeah. We and it's scary. So we're Cody. We're watching a show called Evil, and it's a supernatural show, but they tackle like a lot of like black people get it's typically in hospitals they get like statistically speaking less care. They have a higher chance for infection and death, and they have an episode just based around that. So they tackle real world issues. Anyways, there's a incel army that they form, that the demon, or at least someone who thinks he's aligned with the demons, is like creating. He finds people who feel like they're mistreated by women, and they have a social group where they get together and they talk about how much they hate women. And one of them says, maybe we should like do something about it and like take him out. And one of the guys like, take him out, like where? He's like, no, like we walk in with a gun and kill them. And it's a show, but you think like, man, this so easily, from what I know about everything, could be a thing that could absolutely happen.
I mean, this is going off the deep end a little bit, but like Sacha Baron Cohen has done this shit with Borat and all of his weird fucking characters, to where he just goes into a crazy shit thing and says a crazy shit thing, and everyone's like, yeah, the crazy shit thing's correct. It's like, holy fuck, if you just give someone with a goddamn microphone the chance to say some wacko shit, way too many people are like, well, he said it on a microphone. It's like the whole, if you see it on TV, it's because it got on TV. It's like if you have someone in person saying crazy shit into a microphone, you're like, well, they're in a position of power and they have a microphone, so they must be able to have some authority. So I can cheer for them.
How about
saying the wild shit?
The Kingman Mosque. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. Well, I forgot what the show was.
Literally, it was prep for the show he was doing on HBO, I think, which led into the second Borat. But like, that's exactly the scene I'm talking about because I recently saw that thing again.
Yeah, I'm from Kingman. And I'm like, that is absolutely sentiment.
That is precisely what I was hinting at without actually saying it. So you dove into it. It's like, that's a great example of, yeah, that's when people's real feelings kind of pop out, is all of a sudden you're in your own little group with some crazy person leading that seems official, and you're like, well, the official guy says it, and now I finally feel free to have my opinion because you've never, ever met a Muslim in your life.
Yeah,
ever.
Right.
And you just think they're evil because of the echo chamber that you've lived in.
He literally says the line like, I'm not saying you're racist, and the guy in the crowd is like, I am racist. I'm racist against Muslims. And you're like, holy shit, man. Like, we're not even like tricking you into saying, you're just volunteering all this hatred.
Yep.
And I
that's exactly what I was getting at.
Everywhere. Yeah.
And it's not just Kingman. It's all over the place.
It's just Kingman.
The cesspool of America. I guess at the end of the day, when you get the sitcom ending here as we all gather and talk about the tough issues, the reason why this works is because despite all the video evidence, as Cody mentioned, for some people, they're not even ever going to see it. Or if they're going to see it, they're not going to choose to believe it, because it's weird how technology works in this way. On the one hand, again, more camera angles, more video, all of that than ever before. Plenty of things to support a position pretty easily with what should be near irrefutable proof. Yes, you can deep fake videos, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But it has also allowed people to gather in the name of controversial and, let's just say, stupid opinions as much as they want to now. Because when you were a person in like the early 1990s, if you wanted to talk about Bigfoot, where did you go? Who'd you talk about Bigfoot with? The neighbors? Did you like send a letter to a Bigfoot magazine and get it like written back by the guy who ran it? I actually think
that's what they did.
Gene, get out here! I think I see Bigfoot!
Did you call like an 888 number and get charged $1.99 a minute to talk about it with somebody? Like the avenues that you had to sprout and grow conspiracy theories were much more difficult. And now it's as easy as finding some, stupid forum or off the beaten path message board where you can just be like, yeah, okay, these people here believe what I believe, and it doesn't matter what's actually true. We all believe it, so that's good enough for me.
The answer was you watched Robert Stack on Unsolved Mysteries, and that's where you're like, yeah, See, it's on TV, so like
Yeah.
that guy definitely saw that Bigfoot on that one occasion, or that guy definitely got abducted by aliens, or that guy definitely spontaneously combusted, or the bullshit.
Well, I mean,
that-
I told you about the guy who was on Dude Ranch
Yes.
on one of those alien shows, and it's like, I've seen now the truth. This is all fucking fake. All of it. Yeah. I realize only now I'm wearing a shirt with a man with a gun, so completely tasteless for this episode. I cannot believe
I'm wearing a
lack
shirt
of
about kings,
forethought.
which Trump will become should
That's
he be
true.
reelected.
We
so.
are just.
I don't have. It's just a plain polo.
You're wearing a blue shirt, you Democrat.
If
Oh,
you're a
shit.
conspiracy theorist, you can totally make this is subliminal, right? And
Right.
like, they're like anti-Trump, but like I see a gun and I see the king. I'm like putting it together.
Are you calling Trump a snake? Is that what you're doing?
Exactly.
So, anyways, we sort of talked in circles around it, and there's not really any way to solve this. Our entire like modus operandi and name, gray areas, alludes to the fact that we try and stay out of these hardline positions as much as possible. But a lot of times, I think those are the ones that we're talking about in good faith, when it's people have hardline opinions, but they just believe in something and they don't want to see the middle ground. This is like the most extreme version of that imaginable, because it's not even about belief in something that is belief. It is belief in fact. Probably the most concerning thing I've seen in my time as editor is basically taking facts and making them questionable, because that's where a lot of this has started. I'm not saying that's the full-on path to conspiracy theory, but it's the same idea where, 2 + 2 is 4. Well, I don't believe it's 4. It doesn't fucking matter what you believe. It is 4. So that's the road we went down, and I think we somehow ended up in a very troubling situation that was magnified by the events of this past weekend.
I know it's so trite to be like, anytime you reference Orwell, I think that's a down a bad road. But I'm just reminded of at the end of that book, the guy's like 2 + 2 is 4. I believe that's the exact equation. Or no, he tells him 2 + 2 is 5. He's like, what do you mean? The main character, it's 4, and he's like, no, it's 5, and eventually even the main character believes it's 5, and like we're starting to see so many parallels, and we talk about it all the time, but like that's the part that scares me a little bit. Is this fiction where I almost couldn't even relate to this idea when I read it in high school of like, it's like so stupid. Like this could, you're just changing the fact. What are you talking about? And then here we are. It's crazy.
It's been a long time coming.
We like
been a
to
long
have
time
fun
coming.
on
Right.
gray areas.
We have a
but
good time.
Sometimes it's time for the tough talks.
Is it a tough talk when
And-
the former president of the United States almost gets shot on live TV? Is that probably the appropriate time?
We got to be real sometimes. And today we want to talk to you about what is a fact.
But I still felt like it was somewhat therapeutic to talk through it, because
I like it.
for
I had
me,
a great time. I keep going, but we're at time.
we're out of time. A weird weekend. We'll still talk about the election and some of the issues and stuff as it comes up. Who knows what's going to happen between now and, say, 3 months from now when ballots go out. But this was certainly not on my bingo card. And again, I guess where I differ from Cody is like he wasn't shocked that it happened because we're heading that direction. I understand that, but still, I think it's kind of shocking. If for no other reason than like there were other opportunities before now.
Yeah.
And we had not hit the threshold until this moment. So
I'm sorry. I read up the funniest thing was like, it's all fake because the gun was using a silencer, so you wouldn't have been able to hear it, you idiots.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
Yeah.
silencer doesn't mean there's no sound.
Have you ever played a video game?
Well,
Have you ever?
Well, but the video game, they don't work like the video games either. Where it's like,
That's what I'm saying. Have you exactly? Yeah.
that's all he's done is
whatever.
played
Oh my
video
God.
games. Like you wouldn't hear it at all.
Oh
It's
my
like, no,
God.
silencers in real life, it's a little quieter. It
Yeah,
still
you
makes a loud
It
noise.
muffles it. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Can't-
silent. It's not like
silent.
quiet.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you, a lot of people would have died if silencers worked as well as you think that they might work.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were still people maintaining that was all staged even after the death was announced, which is the most befuddling part to me, because I'm like, so you think that they were going to shoot live rounds in a staged incident? That's what you think?
Yeah, well, or I've even seen like it was worth it to kill one person to get this to go off. Like that part was fine. The last thing I'll say is I'm not saying like if it ever comes out, I don't know how this could ever happen, but like somebody tried to orchestrate this to happen. I think it's unlikely. I think it's just one crazy guy went and did a crazy thing. But it's in the realm of possibility that somebody could have been like, I want you to go kill the president, right?
Sean's just
money
asking questions
or
right now.
Whatever else. Oh, no, I'm that is in the realm of possibility, whereas I think staging this to make it look like it was an assassination attempt and it was not, is what is absolutely insane to me.
It is much more likely that someone convinced some kid to be like, yeah, you should go do this, and egged him on, and then he did it.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree with you on that sense.
To your
Yeah,
point.
I'm not saying it's Biden or like the opposition or anything. I'm just saying, could that have happened? Yes, it is possible.
To your point, all the presence of video all over the place from different angles would make that so hard to hold up under scrutiny if it was staged. Whereas, yeah, it would not be all that difficult to find somebody who's disillusioned and promise them whatever in exchange for something that you can trick them into thinking is a good idea. That is not far-fetched at all.
Yeah.
But the idea of being like, well, there's going to be, not only the television cameras because it's a live airing of a rally, but now there's going to be, again, 4,000 people, and at least half of which will probably have smartphones and record stuff. Because, again, we saw it with the guy on the roof. There's now video of him crawling around on the rooftop and not being shot before he takes his own shots. And now the Secret Service has to answer to that. So if it was staged, imagine all the scrutiny it's going to get when that same thing happens on 5 different angles and people go, wait a minute, like, that's a Nerf gun or whatever, right? Like, same idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it does work in our advantage in some ways, just not enough to stop the full-blown conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
That's the end of the show. We will try and have a lighter show next week. This is generally a comedy, but
I thought it was a pretty good take. Like, it was pretty light, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, it could be so much more heavy if
Yeah.
you really want to get into how dark some things are. But instead, try and take the surface level approach and go deeper in some ways. But next week is a game show, so we'll have happy fun time and we'll pretend like things have not been bad for a lot of different reasons. That's what you come here for, right? Escape. So we will help you escape next week with a game show where Dave defends his title. We may even have a special guest. I'm still figuring out if I can get that to happen. But that'll be next week. So please join us for that. We always have good turnout for the game show ones because you can play along at home, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. So that'll be next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. In between episodes, you can find us at grayareas.live or youtube.com/@grayareaslive. Trails game has started there. That's a playthrough. Mario list that Sean mentioned. It's all coming soon. Thanks for watching.